A very good evening. You're watching Eswatini TV News Bulletin at 8, read to you by Notilesi Tole. First up, let's have a look at tonight's headlines. His Majesty King Eswatini III has put on hold the weeding of royal fields. The opening of schools for the 2021 calendar has been suspended, at least for now. And in our sports headlines, Young Buffaloes has crashed out of the CAF Champions League. And now the news in detail. The weeding of the royal fields has been put on hold by His Majesty King Eswatini III due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This was revealed by Induna Majaha Komendanyen Makakula.
Emajala qhubetela kwidolo lokuqalela umsebenzi wahamba kahle labonakala lusasasa lwabo. So ke namuhla ngekubuka nemithetho weCovid nekubuka umthetho wamhlabuhlangene njengoba kunalesifo njengoba kwaqhazwa ukuthi inqwalita wehluka lonyaka. Ngekubuka ke ngelusasasa lwabo nyalo lapha la qhubetela abambe phansi kubamba kwawo phansi kwetama lokuthi sivulele social distance kuyivula ke le social distance nakuthiwa ke bamba phansi kakusho ukuthi kuthiwa sekaqithiwe alapho avula le social distance atawahamba bese tifundzeni tawo le ngaphandle eGodlweni avule le social distance agadze ukuthi angabitwa noma ngabe kunini noma bayahamba babakadlwanyana bayangena emakhaya lokutawendeka kuphela nabahamba besuka la esigodlweni batawenza kubodokotela babacheke bodokotela bathi babuyela lemuva etifundzeni ibe le coronavirus ingakaveli bangahambi nayo besuke ngala lokutawendeka nguloko nyalo abambe phansi kutawusebenza imishina wona nakabambe phansi kakusho ukuthi libutho selicithiwe lo mehluko nje ngiloyo lotawendeka nyalo njengoba inqwala yehlukile lo nyaka ngalesimo sale COVID nine bekunene.
The Ministry of Education has delayed the opening of schools for the 2021 academic year due to the increasing cases of COVID-19 in the country. This was announced by the Minister of Education, Lady Howard, during a press conference.
Following the increasing cases of COVID-19 in the country, the Minister of Education has taken the decision to delay the opening of schools while monitoring the situation. Speaking during a press conference, the Minister of Education, Lady Howard, says parents will be informed in due course on the opening of schools. In the meantime, she pleads with pupils to continue taking care of themselves and abstain.
The Ministry notes with concern the rapid increase in both COVID-19 cases and related deaths. The reported cases by the Ministry of Health are quite alarming. We note that this unfortunate situation coincides with reopening of the school academic year of 2021. The nation is aware that schools usually reopen on the third week of January. However, due to the hike in COVID-19 cases over the past 2 months, the reopening might be delayed. We will keep the nation abreast on the proposed reopening dates of schools in due course as we continue to monitor the situation on the ground. The Ministry is aware that education plays a key role in the socio-economic development of the country. Prolonged closure of schools contributes immensely to the following: increased inequalities, risk of teenage pregnancies and sexual exploitation.
She says the decision to open schools will be determined by the COVID-19 situation and the readiness of schools in terms of facilities and classrooms. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian Msibi with Tembinkosi Mafimbela, Mbabane.
Postponing a visit to the hospital that is not urgent would not just benefit you but the whole country at this moment. This has been said by the Director of Health, Dr. Vusi Makakula, who says hospitals are overstretched because of COVID-19.
Daily, local news paint a picture of COVID-19 taking its toll on different sectors, which include hospitals, mortuaries, and the general public. Director of Health, Dr. Vusi Makakula, says hospitals are overwhelmed.
Nangabe impela ukugula lokuncane lokungema sicela ukumise.
Dr. Makakula says people should not go to hospitals if it is not necessary to do so. Dr. Makakula says COVID-19 is contributing to local hospitals having to temporarily close at times. This has been the case even at the Mbabane Government Hospital, as this happened earlier this week. Practices that may be seen as small, such as regular washing of hands, wearing a face mask, social distancing, and avoiding unnecessary travel, can make a huge difference in curbing the spread of the virus. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela, Mbabane.
The Examinations Council has announced that they are in the final stages of marking papers for students who sat for their final examinations in the previous year. The Exams Council Registrar Dr. Edmund Mazibuko says students should expect their results at the end of the month or the beginning of February.
Last year, students in Form 5, JC and Grade 7 classes sat for their final examinations. The Eswatini Exams Council is now at the final stages of marking. The Exams Council Registrar Dr. Edmund Mazibuko says they have completed markings of the Form 5 classes and are currently working on completing JC and Grade 7. Dr. Mazibuko says delays in the results have been brought up by the COVID-19 situation.
The marking of the HSSE exams finished 1 week before Christmas. And so after that we then worked on the preparation for the marking of the EPC and JC examinations. We started marking the two exams on the 28th of December. Marking started well, except that the markers had to stop on the 31st because of the New Year's Day, and also on Saturday because of the Ngwala. And they resumed marking on Sunday. And our projection is that the marking of the two exams will be completed latest next week, probably before the end of next week. Some components are now in their final stages in terms of marking and recording, and I'm sure they'll be finished this weekend.
The Exams Council says it will ensure that results are available by the time the opening of schools is announced. Reporting, I'm Temalangen Dlamini with Muzimkonda, Ezulwini.
The Royal Eswatini Police Service from almost all the national stations today went out in numbers to Nyanyali and Angwene constituency to continue searching for the two children who disappeared on the 24th of December 2020. The residents refused to assist the police in their search because they believe the search is unnecessary now that the police sniffer dogs have directed them to the suspects.
The people from Haweni are furious following that the people who are suspects for the disappearance of the two Lulu 2-year-olds, namely Zilenhle and Bayabonga, are still roaming the streets as free men when the sniffer dogs pointed the police to their homestead. On Wednesday, the nation raised questions and suggestions to Senior Superintendent Clement Sihlongonyane. Most of the people said they are failing to understand why the police are committed to further looking for more suspects when they already have suspects.
Lo makele sikhuluma ngayo baba Sihlongonyane warekhodwa wabekwa la wathi ngimi ngabathatha labantwana badlala ngabanike amaswiti bangilandzela bangenisa endlini kaNgweni lamhla sendiyana.
Senior Superintendent Clement Sihlongonyane listened to the cries of the Haweni residents and then responded. Sihlongonyane pleaded with the people to forget about what may look like evidence that they have already gotten, but continue to assist the police in the investigation until they have conclusive evidence as to who really is responsible for the disappearance of the two kids.
My feedback abuyile akabuyi, send a new page.
Sihlongonyane thanked the devotion displayed by a lot of the Haweni residents as the search for the children continues. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, Sifiso Ngumalo with Smuva Shongwe, Haweni.
The Eswatini Standards Authority has announced that it will soon nationalize an international organization for standardization document for safe working during these trying times of COVID-19 that will be made available to the nation. The Executive Director, Mavela Vilane, says the document will be available to the nation in the next 3 weeks.
The Eswatini Standards Authority is in the process of introducing and nationalizing guidelines for safe working in the workplace during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Executive Director, Mavela Vilane, says once the document is ready, it will assist organizations in managing risks arising from COVID-19 and ensuring everyone is protected. Mavela urges members of the public, business communities, and the entire nation to take advantage of these new standards.
Eswatini Standards Authority, realizing that we are from the December holidays, most companies have been closed and a lot of companies are going back on business in January. So we have realized the need for the development of a national standard that will assist employers to manage COVID-19 in the workplace. So basically, the International Organization for Standardization has developed a guideline document which is ISO PAS 45005 of 2020, Occupational Health and Safety Management, which is a general guideline for safe working during the COVID-19 pandemic, which is one of the latest standards recently released by the International Organization for Standardization.
During this time, the Eswatini Standards Authority is a part of the Operation Bopak campaign, whereby they are working together with the transport and logistic team to check whether sanitizers used by public transport are genuine. Reporting, I'm Temalangen Dlamini with Muzim Konda, Matapa.
A storm that wreaked havoc on Tuesday at Gapegi area left 3 homesteads roofless and caused damage in maize fields. Eswatini TV's Gianni Msibi has a report for us.
Gapegi area under the Kukanyeni Inkundla was hit by a severe storm on Tuesday, leaving 3 homesteads roofless and several damage in maize fields. In the process, 2 cattle were struck by lightning. Tandiwe Dlamini, one of those whose houses was hit by the storm, narrating the story, says the weather quickly changed and a dark cloud was seen accompanied by strong wind which blew their rooftop. She says they are still devastated by what befell them. Senzo Dlamini also suffered the same damage where his 2 rooms was almost blown away while he was inside seeking shelter. He says we quickly ran to his neighbors for shelter after that. He says everything was flooded in a pool of water afterwards. Their biggest plea is that of food. Kanyisi Letwala from the National Disaster Management Agency says they have seen and assessed the damage and situation. They will be bringing in the relevant help before the end of the day, including tents.
Donations
can be forwarded to the area's Bukopo, Joyce Mahlalela on 7614-9416. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB, Kapegi Nkosi.
A 38-year-old man who was arrested for allegedly raping his 16-year-old child has applied for bail. The accused says he is HIV positive and fears attracting illnesses such as tuberculosis. He also denies committing the said offense.
The 38-year-old accused says he has 4 children, including the alleged survivor in the matter, who is 16 years old. The accused says the alleged survivor was born out of wedlock and grew up at her mother's parental home where he maintained her. The name of the accused will not be revealed to protect the identity of the alleged survivor. In his bail application, the accused told the court that his daughter, the alleged survivor, used to visit his home and at some point stayed there for 3 months. He told the court that the deputy head teacher at the alleged survivor school called him and applauded him for being a good parent, basing this on that the child's hygiene, school grades and behavior had improved. The accused also told the court that the alleged survivor then went back to stay with her grandmother on the mother's side. He further told the court that it was then that her improved state began to deteriorate. The accused narrated to the court that The alleged survivor began to show a negative behavior towards her stepmother and also developed a habit of gossiping. He alleged that the purported survivor's behavior caused a major rift within the family. The accused told the court that in September last year, he received a call from the child's mother who requested that the alleged survivor resides with him. He added that that was the beginning of trouble as the child was often at loggerheads with his wife. The accused alleged that he was at all material times being the mediator in an effort to make the relationship work between the child and his wife. He went on to allege that in September 17, 2020, the alleged survivor told her grandmother that she was raped by her father on 3 occasions. The accused says the child could not explain how this happened as they stayed in a 2-room house with all 4 children sleeping together and the parents sharing the other room. The accused told the court that a family meeting was called. The child was taken to hospital for examining and police were involved. The accused says he has not been given the opportunity to go through the medical report. He further alleged that if the report spoke to the child not being a virgin, it would sit well with her conduct as she reportedly admitted to having relationships with young men. The accused says the assertion that he slept with his daughter is foolish and misguided with the object of getting his attention as the child supposedly believes that he deserted her mother and by extension her. He says this is not true. He also says he is HIV positive and on antiretroviral therapy. He says he sleeps on a mat at the correctional center he is locked up in and adds that this cannot protect him from attracting further illnesses like tuberculosis. The court said the accused should show exceptional circumstances why he should be granted bail. The accused is represented by Thabo Hlanze of GGN Raid attorneys and the matter is before Judge Titus Mlangeni. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela, High Court.
A 20-year-old man has told the court that he stole from his employer because he needed to raise over 15,000 emalangeni for tuition. He was an employee of V-Best supermarket Eswatini, where he stole 12 cases of beer with the assistance of a security guard, also employed by the same store.
An aspiration to be a paramedic has seen Jabulo Nhliziyo Dlamini stealing from his employer. The 20-year-old Dlamini was arrested with 44-year-old Sifiso Peter Masugu for theft of 12 cases of beer from their employer. The duo were employed by V-Best supermarket where they stole the cases with a total value of 2,700 emalangeni. They appeared before Magistrate Sifiso Vilagati where they pleaded guilty to the charge. Dlamini submitted to the court that he is an orphan and did not consider long-term repercussions when he committed the offense. He submitted that he needed over 15,000 emalangeni for tuition as he is studying to be a paramedic. Dlamini told the court that he acknowledged that what he did was wrong and that was why he gave all the 12 cases to the police when they discovered that he had stolen them. Masugu, who was a security guard at the store, submitted that Dlamini asked him to assist with carrying out the plan to steal the cases. The court asked him why he agreed to this illegal plan that was presented to him by a 20-year-old while he was supposed to be wiser knowing that he also had children to provide for. His response was that it was a mistake. Dlamini and Masugu told the court that they are no longer employed because of their actions. The court warned them against stealing from their employer. The court, in passing judgment, said many people are without employment and the two had broken their employer's trust. It then sentenced them to a year in prison or pay a fine of 1,000 emalangeni each. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela, Magistrates Court Mbabane.
Farmers have shown interest and enthusiasm in joining Eswatini National Agricultural Union's Fund for Farmers, which was launched last year, aimed at assisting smallholder farmers to recover from COVID-19.
Farmers have been greatly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic in Eswatini. As a result, the Eswatini National Agricultural Union in Eswatini, Esnawu, sourced funds from the International Fund for Agriculture Development to assist farmers. The project, called Support African Farmers in 2020 Emergence, also known as SAFE, required farmers to register and be members of Esnawu before they could benefit in the fund, where an amount of $97,796, approximately over $1 million Malangan in local currency, was set aside to benefit the farmers. According to Esnawu Director Lwazimamba, farmers joined even though some showed interest when the deadline was fast approaching, but they received over 700 requests. He says they are still on the drawing board on the next phase of the project and still in talks with the funders on a way forward to assist farmers, including those on pickery, since they had focused on maize and beans for the first phase of this project. He says they had targeted about 1,000 farmers, but they could only do about 700. He says they will still continue to monitor the impact of COVID-19 on farming. I am Kian MCB for Eswatini TV News in Babane.
Good evening once again. You're still watching Eswatini TV. Now we'll have a look at our sports news. Young Buffaloes has crashed out of the CAF Champions League following a 4-1 defeat in the hands of AS Vita in the second leg of the CAF Champions League that was played in Congo this evening.
Young Buffaloes took on AS Vita from DR Congo in the second leg of the CAF Champions League. The teams played to a 2-all draw in the first leg at the Mavuso Sports Center in Manzini. In the second leg, Buffaloes needed to win the game or play to a draw of more than 3 goals to progress to the group stages of for the first time in the club's history. AS Vita though started the game better than Buffaloes, which came as no surprise when they opened the scoring, which forced the game to go to the break with a solitary goal. In the second half, AS Vita continued playing well until they managed to score 2 quick goals to squash any comeback ideas from Buffaloes. Piwa Dlamini put one back for Young Buffaloes, but AS Vita was quick to cancel out that excitement again with a well-taken 4th goal. The game concluded with AS Vita winning by 4-1, which made it 6-3 on aggregate. Buffaloes will now compete in the CAF Confederations Cup. A draw for that game is still to take place. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizo Msibi, and pictures are sourced from AS Vita.
The Eswatini Boxing Association President Webster Lukele says they want to send at least 5 boxers to attend this year's Olympic qualifiers that will be staged in Paris, France. Lukele says this will increase their chances of qualifying for the Games.
Even though boxing is among other sporting codes that have been suspended after the coronavirus outbreak, local boxers are still expected to participate in this year's Olympic qualifiers for Tokyo, Japan. Eswatini Boxing Association President Webster Lukele says they want to send more boxers to the Games, which will take place in Paris, France.
Sinawo ke lama boxers lamabili la under ema scholarships njengaloku wathi but besibukile silive ukuthi masingangeta noma lamanye lamabili.
Lukele says there are already 2 boxers who are under a scholarship that are going to the qualifiers, but they are also looking at least adding 2 or 3 boxers, which they have already communicated with boxers coaches, and they will still be looking for sponsors to help them send those boxers to France. Lukele says sending a large number of boxers will increase the chances of qualifying for the Games. Lukele concluded by highlighting that they are still trying all they can to keep everyone safe from COVID while boxers are still preparing for the qualifiers.
Bantwana noma ema boxers akhona ukuthi aphephe kakhulu.
Lukele says a list of the qualifying boxers will be announced in due time, as they are working hard with coaches in selecting those athletes. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizo Msibi in Matapa.
And that's all for now. Before we conclude, let's have a relook at our top stories. His Majesty King Mswati III has put on hold the weeding of royal fields. The opening of schools for the 2021 calendar has been suspended, at least for now. And in our sports headlines, Young Buffaloes has crashed out of the CAF Champions League. That brings us to the end of our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from myself and the team here at Eswatini TV. Thank you for watching. Good night.